Okay, so can you tell me your name and what it is that you do?
My name is Richard, and I'm a collector, I guess.
You're a collector. Yeah.
I mean, we do a live talk show each night for various topics and subjects. We talk everything from video games, toys, Transformers. I'm trying to think. Gosh, I mean, we talk about so much stuff.
I'm definitely into the video game scene, and
Yeah.
I see all the game stuff you have, and I'm like, your Nintendo inbox is way better than mine. So, and Super Nintendo as well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm totally digging this room. This room is really cool. So what other things do you collect other than Transformers and video games? Is there anything else?
Honestly, with the nerd inside of me collects a variety of everything. Over at my friend's house, we've got Atari ST computers.
Okay.
We've got the original Atari STs and the video games in the box.
Wow.
We've got the books and magazines. We went to a yard sale, and a gentleman was like, he had posted up on Facebook, said, "I want $1,200 for everything," and we left it alone. We was like, "Yeah, no, we're cool." Well, then he posted up again it's been about 8 months, and he just posted up recently, and he's like, "I'm selling it all off. First one to come get it gets it." Okay, fine. So we went down there, and we ended up picking up almost 3 truckloads worth of Atari stuff for $10.
Wow.
And it was just because he had to get it out of there. He was tired of paying on the storage, and I was like, "Well, I'm more than happy to take it off your hands."
Yeah. Let me know when sales like that go on. I'll be back.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, I post up ads on Craigslist, for that I buy Transformers, I buy video games and consoles, whether they're broken or not, because one of the big things that we love doing is we love doing things for charity.
Okay.
Like we have ISU Con coming up in a couple weeks. And one of the big things that we're going to be doing there is I'm in the process of finishing up a couple refurbished consoles, and we're going to take them there because they're holding a live auction, and all the proceeds are going to be donated to the Terre Haute Humane Society.
Okay.
So I'm taking and donating a couple of these consoles to that event, just so that way, one, somebody can have something nice and old and vintage,
Right.
And two, just so that way that I can see something I love, as I love animals, I can see them actually getting taken care of.
Wow, that's really good. That's really nice. So what do you do outside of collecting for fun? Anything?
Actually, I do a variety of things. I mean, I'm actually an ASE certified automotive mechanic.
Okay.
I'm a MECP certified, master MECP certified technician in car audio video, and I'm ICAR certified in paint and body repair.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm actually disabled, so it kind of renders me on what days I'm able to do a lot and what days I can't do anything. Okay. So.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot of really good stuff outside of the collection and the social piece here.
Yeah, I guess you could say. I mean, I kind of merge we have an O2 Alero that's a show car that we're building, and it's all Decepticon themed.
Oh, wow.
Kind of fills in with the junkiness of my Transformer addiction. Actually, my wife was the one. It's technically her car, but we don't talk about that.
Okay. Well, we won't bring it up. So.
Yeah, but the car's name is Soundwave. Right now, it's actually I just downed it because we just put a brand new suspension on it. It's actually getting repainted a cobalt or it's not a cobalt, a House of Colors Candy Voodoo Purple.
Oh.
Which is about as close as I could get to the Decepticon purple as possible, with still keeping that candy look.
Yeah,
to
my brother used to have a Camaro with the Decepticon symbol on the hood. It was really cool.
Nice.
And then somehow he ended up wrecking it or something. Someone hit damaged just the hood and go figure, so he ended up losing it. So.
Well, on the front fenders, we have the Decepticon logos. On the door, it actually says Decepticon Edition.
Oh, wow.
On the rear quarters, it says To Punish and to Slay. So a little mixture of G1 and Bayverse, know. I laugh at the threads and forums where these guys are, if you're not G1, you're not Transformer lover. And I'm like, dude, I love it all, so why does it matter? Yeah. A Transformer's a Transformer.
Okay. That's good.
But another big thing we're doing is we're upgrading the motor. We just added a monster turbo to it, so that way it'll have a little go get with it. As I hate people that are like all show no go. Right. Well, this thing will go too.
Yeah, it sounds like it's got some power behind it. But what does your family think about, your family and friends? What do they think about your collections?
Honestly, My mom loves it. My mom's gung ho for anything I do.
Okay.
I mean, my wife is extremely supportive of this. We go to yard sales or something, or if we're at the store, she's like, "Ooh, look what I found!" I'm like, "Oh, piece of candy," So it's great, I'm glad that she's there for me. I mean, she's a gamer like I am. I mean, you should hear her on Black Ops. Me and my friends, we actually play Black Ops 2 a lot on the 360. I mean, we've got an Xbox One, but we use it more for Netflix because it works better.
Right. That's good. That's cool. So the things that you collect, do they have individual significance, or just just an overall collector of certain things?
I've been collecting Transformers since I was a little boy.
Okay.
My grandfather was a big antique dealer, and whenever he got into collecting, he knew it was going to become a bug with me. Because he used to take me all to the auctions and all the big shows that he would host and whatnot. One of my first conventions I ever went to was a beer stein convention.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing, some of the beautiful pieces and I actually still have one of my old German beer steins from Budweiser. It's about that tall. I keep it in a box, and it's padded up and bubble wrapped the works, because if anything were to happen to it, I wouldn't know what to do. This was actually the very first collectible thing my grandfather had bought for me.
Wow.
So then he showed me the ins and outs of collecting, as far as with my Transformers and stuff. If you're going to play with them, growing up as a kid, buy one, play with, keep one in the box.
Okay. That's definitely a good piece of advice. Why Transformers?
I don't know. Honestly, they're cool.
I wouldn't disagree.
Well, I mean, I used to be a big dinosaur nut, and so whenever Jurassic Park came out, I bought every single thing that Jurassic Park ever made.
Okay.
Lost World Jurassic Park came out, same thing. Unfortunately, whenever when me and my mom lived in California, there was a real bad fire when we had left. We lost everything, so I lost all my Transformers, and so basically I've had to start over. And actually, it's my third time starting over, sadly enough, because I went through a real bad divorce about 10 years ago, and unfortunately, she got everything. So,
well,
at least I got to keep the dog.
Didn't
want the dog, but I got to keep it.
for starting over 3 times, it definitely looks really, like, your collection looks really, really nice, like a lot of pieces. So, how would you define perceived value?
As like in the quality of what I think the items are worth?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like why would a Transformer go for $600? Like something like that.
Okay, if you base it off of, for instance, like eBay or retail sellers, things of that nature, you got to go on one of the number one things, especially when it comes to like I've seen it with video games. There are some games very hard to find, so therefore there's a larger demand for that specific game, so people can jack the price up to get that item. For instance, N64, Conker's Bad Fur Day. I just want the game. I've got the game because I never played it. It's a teddy bear killing spree. It's awesome. Stuffing everywhere. It's great. But that game sells for over $80 on eBay.
Wow.
Now, am I worried about that? No. When people call me up and ask me, "Hey, I got all this, and and this is how much I want for it," most of them I'm gonna laugh and say, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm a collector. I'm not a reseller. I'm not here to make money off of this." So, if you're gonna, I had a guy call me up the other day, and 64. He had like 4 games that were like really, really like 99-cent games. I want $200 for it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah.
The way I perceive my collections, I've got everything from Gen 1 on up, all the way up to the Bayverse stuff.
Right.
To me, a lot of this is more sentimental value than it is anything. I mean, I know that Metroplex, I could probably sell them for about $200 online. Big guy here, I could probably get, a couple grand comfortably out of everything I have. That's not even including all the games and consoles and stuff. But to me, there's more sentimental value because, like Metroplex, my wife got for Valentine's Day. I got him for Christmas. The 4 Constructibots back there that are part of the Autobots, they actually make landfill.
Okay.
She bought those for me for Father's Day. My comic book collection, an ungodly huge comic book collection, those Father's Day gift. So it's one of those things, to me, is it worth honestly getting rid of? That's the way I have to look at it.
Okay.
If it came to my family needing something, yes, I would get rid of my collection to support my family.
Okay. This setup you have here on this table is pretty fantastic. What exactly do you use it for?
Actually, we do a live talk show Monday through Friday on Mixler.com.
Okay.
And it's, we talk. It gives us the ability to actually outreach and talk to other people about the things we all love.
Okay.
We're on Facebook. We're on I think I'm on probably like 30, 40 Transformer groups, LARP groups. I mean, and it's like I joined a couple, and then these guys loved what I did, so they started adding me all these other groups, and now I'm like 30, 40 plus. And so every Monday, I have to take an hour of time before the show to go through and send the link to every single one of these groups, and it's annoying, but that's what they want me to do. So that. I mean, we started off with 5, 10 listeners, and now we're up to anywhere between 30 to, I think the biggest group we've had was about 450 live listeners. And
that was going to be my next question, so that's really cool.
Offline listeners, because the great thing about Mixler is it records it.
Right.
So anybody can go back at any time and listen to it. Mm-hmm. Offline listeners, on average, about a week, every week, we're up to, I think, anywhere between 7,000 to 10,000 people that listen to our show every week.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool that you got that kind of following. Because, I mean, I can imagine how hard it would be to start something like that and to try and, advertise. But yeah, it seems like you've had all the little groups and then it just kind of took off from there. And that's fantastic. That's really, really cool.
Well, we went to Glare about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago. It was a LARPing event for Mind's Eye Society. It was a big national convention, 5 days. We got there on Wednesday. We didn't leave till Sunday. Well, the Glare group had actually added us, made our own page for the Geeks of Retro, and put us on their website. Okay. Their website crashed 4 times because of how many hits we got in those 5 days. Wow. They said by Saturday evening we had it was 2.3 million hits on just our specific page to listen to our show throughout the 4 days or 5 days that we were there. And they had I think they said it was over 450,000 unique IP addresses.
That's awesome. So what do you think drives people to your podcast? Like, what is it that brings people to it? What do you think that is?
I have had a lot of people say that we're like the geeky nerds. We're like the Howard Sterns of geeks. Okay. We don't hold back. We've had paper bowl fights in the middle of the podcast before. I got beat up on my wife with a lightsaber during a podcast. People think that's hilarious and they like that. We're not this, I'm reading from a book and it is, it's boring. We're very upbeat, we're interactive. We have live guests on here all the time. Like we do a live show, or we do the Darkest Hour on Fridays, again, plot cookies for Mind's Eye Society. It's all in character. And we get people that'll interact with us just for that. And you should hear some of the random commercials. They're not real. And they're just things that our ST, who is a preacher, has come up with. Wow. And like one of them was about biometabolism and all the side effects were really horrible. And you're like, okay. And then the very next show we did was a attorney commercial for that specific drug, saying that if you have developed a vajayjay, then we can help you. And it was because of that drug. I'm like, what? Where are you coming up with this random stuff? But the guests love it, and that's the point. And like one guy, he's like, man, this is kind of slow. And then there's another girl immediately hits on there. She goes, oh, wait till you hear the commercials. Those are wonderful. And because they're just different. I mean, and it's fun. Again, the great thing about Mixer is that it has a live chat room. Okay. And our guests are able to get in there live with us. That's amazing. And interact with us. So that's the reason why on Thursdays we'll submit out a thing saying, what do you guys want to talk about? We'll get in there and I'll have a couple topics I'll try to get things warmed up. And then I just start feeding off what everybody else wants to talk about. That's cool. So how do you think nostalgia plays a role in the whole thing? Like how would you see nostalgia affecting what you do here? A lot of our fan bases, they're addicts or not really. Okay, I'm an addict. I know I am. If I see a Transformer, I'm like, ooh, God, and I feel like a crack fiend. I gotta have it. Okay, active collector check. Exactly, right? I mean, and it's like no matter where I go, whether I go to the dollar store or if I go to Walmart, every time I go to Walmart, the first place I head is the clearance aisle, Transformer aisle, to see what else I've missed. But I mean, again, I think the great thing about it is, each night we have our dedicated listeners. And then, because it's almost like whenever Howard Stern first started up, he had that group of listeners that would just listen. They hated him so much because of the way he was, but they kept listening because they wanted to hear what he was going to say next. Right. And I think that's the way our listeners are. But then we also have our enthusiasts that are in the same boat that I am and that my wife is in. and everybody that's with us, each one of our members has a dedication to something. Like my Dark and Captain, they're both video gamers. Dark's a Zelda fanatic. My brother, he's an Xbox nerd. He loves Xbox games.
Okay.
My wife, she's a Black Ops nerd, but she loves Transformers with me. So my thing is with the people that come, I think it's just to feed that addiction. Because they feel comfortable whenever they're listening to us. Because even whenever they interact, they're very outspoken. They're very. It's almost like okay, this is my little group, this is my posse. I'm comfortable here. I'm safe. Nobody's going to judge me for who I am or what I am, and that's what I think that's one of my biggest drives for this show.
Okay. Do you, yourself included, do you think it's the personal experiences that you've had with these things is what helps fuel that bond between all your listeners and
Absolutely.
you? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, between all the different shows that I've been to, conventions, Transformer cons, I like we're doing what is it, Transformer Con, but it's for next year. And then we're also doing NCRE. They're actually doing costume/cosplay contest, and we're actually building a 10-foot tall Optimus Prime and Megatron.
That'd be cool.
Full working costumes to go to these things.
That'd be awesome. I went to a car show one time, and someone was dressed up had a costume of Leader One. And I thought it was the coolest thing because when he walked, it was like, "Ka-doom, ka-doom, ka-doom," and I was like, oh, that's just like they do in the cartoon.
That's awesome.
But yeah, poor GoBots. I miss them. Rock Lords.
Yeah, I actually got Rock Lords. I've got them at there. I haven't put them out. That was the only downfall. I've got them all. And everybody's like, well, what is that? I said, you don't remember Rock Lords or Mask? These are vintage, you know?
Brave Star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to have all the Brave Star anime and everything.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I'm a big anime fanatic. My son's name is actually, if you ever heard the anime Bleach.
Yes.
My son is actually named after Renji.
Okay.
Before he was born, it was either going to be Ichigo Kurosaki, Kenpachi Zaraki, or Renji Aborai. We didn't know which one we were going to aim for. I immediately got told no on Ichigo because in Japanese, I can't remember the exact translation, but basically it was like Flower Boy or something like that. I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Kenpachi Zaraki, the only reason why she said no to that was because they always called him Kenny for short. Well, she didn't want her nephew or cousin wanting to think that we named our son after him. It's like, no. Yeah. So then we went with Renji, but then half my family's retarded and they can't pronounce Aborai. I'm like, it's really not that hard, but whatever. We went to so we finally broke down and said his name is Renji Emmanuel Greeson. Fine, good, whatever. Took him to the children's hospital because he had a flu that they wanted him to get checked out for. No big deal. My son was called a girl. He was Benji, Renee. I got a phone call a couple days after the procedure that he had. Well, we're calling to check up on your daughter, Renee, and see how she's doing. I was like, oh, you mean my son, Renji? It's really not that hard, people. I can understand Benji, Renji, so be it.
Yeah. My daughter's name is Farron, and
awesome.
I love the name Farron. It's like, but I couldn't name my a son Farron. I'd be like, his short name would be Fairy. What?
Right? I can't. And see, that's the way I had to.
Can't do that to him. So.
For my first son, I was like, and that's the reason why I was thinking, okay, how can they screw this name up? Because unfortunately, my name is Richard, so we all know what that is for short.
Yes.
And I hate my name because of that. But then after as I gotten older, I'm like, yeah, I am. That's just me. I'm sorry, I can't help it. So that's the reason why if I went through Benny, Benoit, I'm cool. So I did this rundown with all these names, and then finally I was like, you can't screw Renji up. There's no way to call him.
So let me ask you this: what would you consider your holy grail of collecting? What if you could collect one thing that would maybe complete your collection? What would it be? One
thing left?
Yeah, like what would be? Do you think is the hardest thing for you to get? If you had it, you'd be like, I could stop here.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna happen. Okay, you've heard the phrase for Pokemon, gotta catch them all?
Gotta catch them all.
Well, my phrase for Transformers is gotta collect them all. But see, my collection doesn't even stop with just Transformers. I've got Transformer wrapping paper, man. I mean, my addiction doesn't just stop with Transformers. I've got Transformer ribbons. The little Transformer hat was for my son's first birthday. Awesome. I've got little Transformer rings from his cupcakes. I've got the books, and you name it. If it's Transformer related, I've even got a Transformer pen. I've got I mean, I don't even know what that says. I got it at a yard sale for $1. It was just Transformer. I was like, okay, cool. You know, I mean, I've got bobbleheads. I mean, you name it, cups.
Okay, so out of all this stuff, what would you consider like the most significant piece in your collection?
Honestly, my most significant, there's two of them.
Okay.
And it's actually would be my two Metroplexes, and it's because of the love that my wife and the surprise that she gave me to get those.
Okay.
And, you know, the next ones on the list would be, of course, my favorite guy here, G1 Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime.
Absolutely. You know, he was always my hero in the movies, and it was just funny because, you know, one of the things we talked about in the show a while back when we were talking about the 1986 movie, everybody's like, oh, well, they killed off Optimus Prime. I was like, yeah, and they brought him back really quickly. Why? Oh, well, because between the hate mail, the suicide letters, and bomb threats, yeah, they realized really quickly that Optimus Prime was a hero.
Yeah, you guys were messing up people's childhoods at that point.
Exactly, dude.
Stop
I remember crying when I seen Optimus Prime cry.
I think I did too. It was probably the most heart-wrenching scenes in any movie. And then on top of that, it was like, I was just waiting, like, okay, they're going to bring him back. They're going to bring him back. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, they didn't bring him back!
I know, right?
I think it's so
but
stupid.
it took them like 3 or 4 episodes, and then Optimus Prime comes back, and we're like, okay, we're good. We're not going to kill you now. And I don't know. I think it's, okay, to me, it's weird. It's not like I got yelled at by a guy in the movie theater when I went to see this last movie. Mm-hmm. You know, they said, you know, I was anticipating every single one of them. Like, holy crap. You know, when Optimus Prime, like, in the 2007 movie, Michael Bay did a contest to see what famous quote from the original 1986 movie did we want to hear.
Right.
Well, he didn't announce which one won, so we all just waited. What is it? What is it? What is it? And then at the end he goes, at the end of the day, one shall stand, one shall fall. I was like, eee! Cold chills went down my spine, started crying. I was like, oh my god, this was so wonderful. I had a fairy moment. It was horrible, you know?
That's all right.
Then the second movie, when I thought Bumblebee died, I started crying. I was like, oh my god, dude. I mean, it was like, people were like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, sorry, I'm emotional. Leave me alone. And then, like, I got yelled at because the moment I seen Grimlock, you know? I'm like, holy crap, that was my childhood hero. Me, Grimlock, no like you. Grimlock was awesome. The only thing that depressed me about the last one, Grimlock didn't talk.
Oh, that stinks.
He talked a little bit, but it was in Cybertonian. And then they labeled him as a legendary. I'm like, no, he really wasn't a legendary. I can go with this, but okay. Okay, he's cool. He's here. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I actually have the Transformers comic book, the first appearance of the Dinobots.
Yep,
that's, really cool.
that's actually sitting right there on the table.
That's it right there.
Yep.
I have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool piece, and I got the one where Spider-Man shows up in I think one of the limited series or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's I mean, and see the crossbreed, and that was mostly done with the Marvels, where they did the crossbreeding between comics and whatnot. Like I've got one up there with Silver, Starlet, and then there's of course the G.I. Joes that crossbred into them.
Right.
I mean, there were so many different variations. People are like, well, I just had a young man. He was like, people are being mean on the Transformer forums. I'm like, okay, why? And he's like, because I don't know much about Transformers. Like, okay, so there's Wiki, there's Google. Get to researching, brother. I mean, I don't know how to help you. And he goes, well, how many different Transformer things are there? He's like, I know Transformer Cybertron. I'm like, dude, you got a long ways to go. I'm like, I'm not being mean. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people will realize that, you know, Transformers started in 1979 in Japan.
Yeah.
And, you know, then in 83, Takara went to him and said, hey, I want something. Give me something. And they're like, well, here, try this. Gave us a 3-part series. They aired it in late of September of 83. Mm-hmm. It was basically More Than Meets the Eye Part 1, 2, and 3. Oh. It became such a success, Hasbro came back to Takara and said, more. Yeah. And that's when spring of '84, Transformers was released.
I can definitely feel the aura of how your social media goes as far as being able to connect with certain things, especially with the Transformers. It's huge. So
I mean, I grew up on G.I. Joes. I remember days where I asked my buddy the other day. I was like, dude, is it bad when I can sit here and daydream and recollect back on the days when I was a kid, and when I would sit there in the dirt with my Transformers, my G.I. Joes, and my dinosaurs, and just play for hours. And that was my sanction, my sanctum, you know. And he's like, I don't know. I was like, the problem is I could take my son outside right now. We go play some Transformers. They ain't gonna break my heart. Not his Transformers, not mine. Right. But you know, and see, that's what I love about it, because even my son, he's into it. You know, he's 3 years old. And, you know, I don't let him up here because every time I do, I hear something disappear or, ooh, and it's always the expensive ones he aims for. He got me one time when I had my collection downstairs. I had my big computer. I had my computer down there too. I had a computer chair on wheels. Well, I'm playing Black Ops, and we're, you know, me and him are being cool. He's fine. He's playing with his toys, and every once in a while I look over, make sure he's okay, and then he comes over, and I was in between matches, and I hear him, and he goes, ooh, and I look back, and he's like this, pointing at the shelf, and I'm like, no. And so he come back over, he grabs his Transformers, he starts playing some more, and I get into a match. Well, I had my headset on, so I couldn't really hear him. And it was the worst mistake of my life, because then I'm like, okay, and then next thing I know, just I look over, and he goes, ooh, and he hands me Bumblebee there. And Bumblebee was on the third shelf.
Oh, wow.
He was way up here. And I'm like, how? He's only that tall. And then I look back, and I'm like, holy crap. And I look back, and he had taken the computer chair, rolled it across to the shelf, where he got up on top of it, got what he wanted, came back, put the chair back, and then brought it to me.
Wow.
And I was like, no!
Yeah. Too far.
Yeah, so anytime I get Transformers, if they're beat up or broken or something, here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
And he transforms them better than I do.
Yeah. I buy, like, I go to this toy store in Kokomo, and I keep buying these Masters of the Universe figures for my daughter. She's starting to get into Masters of the Universe. She calls herself Baby Tila.
Nice.
She calls me He-Man.
Awesome.
She calls my younger daughter Orko. She calls my wife Man-at-Arms.
Nice.
She calls my brother Beastman. It's fantastic. She's got names for everybody, and it's so funny that she knows all these characters, because she'll rattle them off. It's like, who's the evil girl? Oh, that's Evil Lyn. Like, who's Skeletor's cat? Oh, it's Pantor. Yeah, and she's 3. She's 3.
Nice.
And she knows all of them. And some of the stuff she knows, it just blows me away. Like, just blows me away. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff she gets into, and it's really cool to see her get into that. Do your kids like totally get into everything you do?
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Little man, he already knows that. I mean, I don't baby him. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. So, he already knows what a half-inch drive, a quarter drive, and a 3/8 drive ratchet is. Mm-hmm. He knows what sockets are. He knows what a wrench is and a screwdriver.
Okay.
So he's learning really well inside the garage with Dad. But he also, you show him Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, he'll tell you exactly which one's which.
That's awesome.
And he knows that Optimus is his hero, but he loves Bumblebee.
Yeah.
So at night, whenever he sleeps, he goes to sleep with Bumblebee in one arm, Optimus in the other. And that's it.
They'll keep him safe. Trust
Absolutely,
me.
And it's great. One thing I took my niece many years ago to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. I love that place. Mm-hmm. And it was just so overwhelmingly awesome to walk into the dinosaur part. And the kid looked, Mommy, look, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And he's like 5 years old, but he can't barely say hi.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, he just said a 5-6 syllable word and he can't say hi. The rest of it's mumble, but Tyrannosaurus Rex or Stegosaurus. And these kids are calling him out like it's nothing. I was like, dude, that's awesome to me.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my youngest daughters is getting into like watching me play Mortal Kombat, and she's like, "Oh, the fight!" Like she wants to go fight.
Oh yeah,
Baraka, Katana, Molina.
Nice.
Like, oh my gosh! Like I'm gonna be in so much trouble.
I was playing on the 360, and I don't have my headset. As we get in the live chats, we'll get in our local group chats and whatnot. And Dart and Cap confirmed this. I went to the bathroom. Little man was in there with me. Well, I'd set my headset down. I was still in the chat room with him. Well, I'm using the bathroom and I hear him talking to somebody. I'm like, who's he rattling off to? It's just gibberish, but he was just doing his thing, I'm like, who's he talking to? So I creep the door open, I look out, and he's got my headset on, and he's just gibbering away to everybody, just got the controller in his hand, ready to go, right? So I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So I turn around, I pull my phone out, I take a picture real quick, and I see him kind of look over, so I lean back. And I'm waiting, and he just starts gibbering away. And so then I come out with the camera, and I go, what are you doing? I took the picture. I was like, yes! And they're like, dude, he was just talking away. So after that, anytime I played, I had to give him a non-working controller and a headset, so that way he could just gibber away and do his thing.
So, what are some memorable moments about your podcast that maybe you could share with us? Something that really stands out? Is there any stories?
Actually, I think one of my most memorable moments was going to Glare. It was really awesome because we had one of the guys that joined us. It was the last night. It was Sunday night. Everybody was getting drunk. We were like, it's the last night. Let's all just break down and have fun. I don't drink, so they handed me this drink and I didn't realize what it was. And then it tasted like Coke, but it had a little kick to it. I'm like, okay, I know there's the spikes, but whatever. I'll enjoy it. We're enjoying it. We're having a good time. And we ended up doing a 7-hour podcast. We started at 11 o'clock that night and didn't quit till almost 6 o'clock the next morning.
That's really
and it was amazing because, man, we had the board of directors for the Mind's Eye Society there, which they said talking to him is like a miracle. But he ended up being the really coolest cat. He ended up, he's a good friend of mine on Facebook now. And I mean, we had just so many people interacting, and it was just one of those most amazing experiences. that was the biggest show we'd ever had live. I think the max we had in there was about 450 people in there.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Live, talking back and forth with all of us, just listening to all the different things that was going on.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It was really hard to keep up with everybody because you got 450 people trying to talk at once. That screen's going. It was like, I'm not even going to worry about this. We're just going to talk and let everybody else say. Somebody else can read the screen. I can't do it.
So, let me ask you a personal question. Does your collection define you?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
It's getting there. I mean, now if I had somewhere to put my car in here, then we'd be getting a little bit closer.
Okay.
No, my collection. I think what defines me the most is my family, my wife. I mean, the inspirations that she's given me. There's been days where I've wanted to quit because I just didn't see any point in it. I had a partner that was supposed to be with me till the end on this, and he just one day came in and walked out.
Wow.
And left me high and dry. Because he got upset with me because I told him, I was like, I'm tired of doing it by myself, brother. I can't, I have no problems with doing this. You drag me into this, then let's do this as a team. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But, it's actually gotten better since. We've been, the invites that we've been getting to go to different cons is overwhelming. I seriously, I'm starting to turn cons down because I can't afford it.
Okay.
Like, unless you guys help me with some gas money to get there, I just can't do it. One was Chicago. One guy wanted to fly me out to California to do a show. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. But the days I had already had that he wanted me to come, I had already had pre-arrangements for somebody else that I already made a promise for. Plus I also do live DJ. But again, it's back in the retro way. I still spin vinyl. Okay. So it's one of those things where people are like, what is that? And I said, that's called a turntable. And they're like, where do you put the CD?
What does it do?
Yeah, how does the CD go on this? I'm like, what? No. And I bust out this old school vinyl and I stick it on there and they're like, oh, that's retro. No, it's like, no, that's getro. There's the difference.
Yeah. This
works. This is the way DJing should be done.
Yeah.
And that's actually when you guys came in. That's the reason why you've seen all the PA speakers and the big coffins and that's my turntables and everything.
Oh, that's cool. It's really cool.
I've been DJing for almost 15 years now, and it's one of those things that's it's either old school or no school.
So what would you say is the most difficult part of what you do with the social media? What's the most difficult part?
Trying to please everybody is probably one of the hardest parts, and I know that you get that a lot, and because you can't please everybody.
I see that, yeah.
And that was one of the biggest complaints that my old partner had was, oh, well, I wanted to talk about this. I was like, yeah, but they wanted to talk about this, and if we have 10,000 people listen to the show every single day, I don't care. I'll talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But when we're averaging 15 to 100 people a night, I'm gonna talk about what they want to talk about. Why? Because I want to keep them interested.
Yeah, I get that.
And so that's, you're going to get that. Another hard part is trying to juggle this life and trying to juggle your personal lives and everything else because, there have been times where the personal life, this life, the podcasting and all that is actually interfered with my personal life and my business life. And, and it's like, I've had I was at a job, I had to quit early because we had a show to do. And I was like, they're like, oh, they got upset with me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I cannot bounce on these people. These are dedicated people. These are what are keeping this thing alive and going. And that's but the way I've had to finally break it down is I can't please everybody.
Yep.
And that's just the concept of the way I got to look at it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it can drive you crazy trying to pleise everybody all the time, especially that many people.
Yeah. And I try. I still try. I have a hard time saying no to people, like I had a gentleman, he's wanting me to bring him onto the show because he's doing a charity for cancer to help kids out. And it's like, when you talk about kids, man, I love kids. They're children of my life. So whenever it comes down to it, and if something were to happen to my son, I guarantee you that I would be posting up, letting everybody know this. We have a website, we have Facebook, we're on Twitter, and pretty much every single social media site. And there have been a couple times, little man sick, sorry guys, and they're like, oh, and then I got 1,500 emails. Come on, sorry, personal life, it's more important. So
okay, well, it sounds like you got your priorities on straight.
I try.
Yeah.
There's days it's debatable though.
Will you ever stop collecting toys, Transformers? No, never.
No. No. My whole theory and thought behind all of this is that it ain't much. Hopefully, by the time I'm done collecting, I'll probably be dead. But all this is going to my son. It's going to my 3 boys. That's all that matters. and they can fight over who gets what, and I'll have it basically divided one fraction, here you guys go, and that's it, and that they can figure it out from there.
Pray it's not a Voltron with 5 parts that they can't divide up.
Yeah, I know, right? Because there'll be that 2 parts. You're like, well, I want that. Like, no, sorry. It's like I even have Power Ranger stuff. I mean, people are like, well, that Power Ranger's stupid. I'm like, yeah, well, it's still retro. It's still the new Power Ranger stuff. I don't like. I think the toys are cheaper and crap. They're just not what they used to be. I actually, just until recently, I had an original Dinosaur Power Ranger. Or the Zord. Mm-hmm. And then I had the Dragon Zord. I actually got the chest plate still sitting up there. And, you know, I mean, people are like, oh, you got Power Rangers? Well, that's just stupid. I'm like, oh, well, Barbie's is stupid. You know, but, okay, I mean, I'm not going to have Barbie on my shelf because I don't like Barbie, but, you know, if somebody likes Barbie, they can, you know, that's what they prefer, so for it, go for it. I don't care.
It's kind of weird hearing someone talk about it. It's like someone criticizing your favorite ice cream flavor.
Right. I know, it's like,
you like chocolate, you're dumb.
Yeah, that's stupid. I'm like, okay, well, you're stupid, leave me alone.
Yeah,
you know, I don't judge people by the way they do it, because like I know a guy, he's a VHS collector. He's got, I think his collection is like right up a little over 8,000 VHS. Wow. And I'm like, dude, where the hell do you put it all?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, trust me, I got plenty of storage units. I was like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you walk in, it's just boxes, and how he labels them is, you know, he'll box them up by their years.
Oh, okay.
But every one of his VHSs, they're still new, sealed in the package. I mean, again, it's one of those things. He's even sent some in that are super rare that he had AFA graded.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, holy crap, dude! I didn't know you could AFA grade those. That's really awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And you know, I mean, there's like that. Like he's got a lot of the old vintage. Bugs Bunnies and stuff like that that are not allowed to be aired anymore.
Okay.
And apparently they're worth a lot of money now. I'm like, oh well, I don't care about all that. He goes like, yeah, but it's the point. I have them.
Yeah.
I've known other people who collect Laserdisc. You know, game consoles. I mean, everybody has their thing that they like to collect. My buddy likes to collect cars. I'm like, dude, stop! You got too many. It's like, I know, but they're so nice. I'm like, okay, yeah, but when you have 30 of them, there's no point anymore. You're not doing anything with the other 29 of them. You drive one.
Yeah.
What's the point? If you were a avid collector, these were mint condition, blah blah blah. You have somewhere to store them, not sitting in the back field, and you keep saying one day you're gonna fix it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work. You know, so that's that at that point in time, that's not collecting. That's hoarding.
Yeah. We're gonna hopefully try and like talk to some people about that specific, like the psychology of like extreme collecting and things like that. We're hopefully going to be able to talk to like psychologists on that kind of thing. So
yeah, I've talked to people where, you know, like in the Mind's Eye Society, whenever it comes to game, there's one of the main rules is that if you, at any point in time that your normal life and your game life ever become one or interfused and you cannot tell the difference between the two, it's time for you to take a break.
Yeah.
And it means just recently we had to suspend somebody because they told us, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years. I played this game for 15 years. This game is my life, and don't tell me that, because at that point in time you do not discern the distance between reality and unreal. Yeah. And with doing that, you know, that's when, you know, you've taken it way beyond. My grandmother, or my great Grammy, she was a hoarder. She had the money to do it. But I mean, like whenever we went in there, whenever she finally passed away, she had a 4-story tall home down there in Indian Woodruff Place. Okay. She had 20-foot ceilings throughout the whole first floor, and all the rest of them were 10-foot ceilings throughout the next levels. And the whole first floor was, I think they measured it anywhere between 10 to 12 foot high, and just stuff.
Do you know why she did that?
She'd see a purse. No, I gotta have a new purse. She'd use it once, never use it again.
Okay.
Buy an outfit. Use it once, never use it again, or buy an outfit because she thought it looked cute and never use it.
Was it always like that, or did it happen?
I think it happened. I think it was more of an emotional thing after her husband passed. She got real depressed.
Okay.
Her kids didn't want anything to do with her, unless they were there to get money, and so she kind of disowned them, and so that was her way of working around that.
Okay.
Me and my mom ended up going in there and cleaning that house out, and it took us 6 weeks. And whenever we was cleaning it out was when she was still alive, and she's like, anything you find, go for it, you can have it. Just off the first floor, I think we ended up finding almost close to $12,000 in cash.
Wow.
Just through random purses. Like, she'd use a purse, stick all her money in there. She'd pull $400 or $500 out of her account, throw it in her purse to go shopping that day, and then throw the purse off in a pile or forget where she set it. And then that, dude, I was like, oh my God, there's Gucci, there's Louis Vuitton, there's Armani. These purses. I think we ended up raising almost $150,000 off between all the antiques, merchandise, and everything that was in that home, including cash and all.
Gosh, that's
it was amazing.
That is
amazing. But that doesn't include the 12 6-yard dumpsters that we filled and whatnot to get rid of all the trash out of there too. There was animals living in there that she didn't realize were in there, and she lived in this home every day. She never ate at home because she couldn't find a kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
It was bad, and so finally it got to that point where they ended up putting her in a nursing home, and that just killed her the rest of the way, and she passed away a few months after that.
Wow. Well, I had heard like there are a couple reasons why people do stuff like that, and one of them was because of personal loss, like someone losing someone, and then it just becomes like they just don't want to lose anything else. That's kind of like the mentality. Or the other one I've heard is where people collect things because they didn't have anything when they were growing up, like at all, and then so they start collecting things, and then they just don't get rid of it. It's just because it's theirs. So
that I know that was probably one of my bigger issues when growing up as a kid. Is my mom was a single mom, 3 kids, worked 3 jobs, and barely made by. So whenever I first got my job, I started mowing grass and doing yard work and stuff like that, so that way I could have things that I've always wanted. And from there, it just progressed into. At one time, I had almost 2,000 Transformers. And really didn't have anywhere to put them, but I kept them in boxes and stuff like that, so that way they wouldn't get messed up. And then when we moved from Cali, I lost everything, so now I'm starting over again. But I know the difference now. Now, back then I had to have it because it didn't matter what I had to do to get it, but I worked my butt off to get it, and I did it legitly. Now I'm at that point. Now I can go into the store, I can look, and say, I can get it some other day.
Yeah.
There's times where I look at it and I realize it's a really good deal, and so then I'll beat myself up at it. But my problem is I'm a spontaneous buyer. If I don't buy it right then and there, I'll overthink it and I'll put it back, and then I won't buy it again.
Do you think your children will appreciate the things that you have when it comes time for them to inherit it?
Oh, without a doubt.
Really?
I really do. Even my little man, whenever he does come up here with Dad, he actually said it on a podcast with me once. And I was like, hey guys, little man's here, and he's here to say hi, and I ain't gonna deny him it, and he's in it just But, and I see, like, when he looks at this stuff, he's just like, wow. He's just so amazed. And all my boys are like that. So I really think, for whether, they're very careful with their stuff. They take care of their game consoles. They take care of their toys. Aside from Renji. Renji's, oh my God. There's days I'm like, dude, I spent $40 on that freaking Rescue Bot Bumblebee, and you're over there beating it against a rock. What are you doing, man? And I'm thinking, I'm cringing, and I never thought about this when I was a kid, because I'm like, crap, it was getting me. It's my toy. Blow it up with an M80. Mom, I need another one. Yeah. And Mom's going, yeah, not going to happen. And I never understood that and grasped that concept until I got kids of my own. And I realized, holy crap, he's beating up Rescue Bot that, they're not cheap. Bumblebee, the one that quick changers, you just pull him apart and he folds out and everything. Yep. It's like $30-$40. He's over here, like, stop it.
Yeah, I have a battle cat for my daughter, and like I was letting her play with it for a long time, but she kept losing the helmet. I'm like, stop. Like, I just eventually just took it and put it in my case. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep
this
it
is
there.
too vintage for you. You're not ready for this yet, child.
When you learn to appreciate it, then we'll talk.
Exactly. That's the reason why, like, with him, if I'm at a yard sale and I see something and it's 50 cents, if I already have it, here you go, bud. There you go. And that way I can keep feeding his addiction for wanting it. And then I don't have to worry about my guys disappearing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that, there's some of these up here, which actually a lot of them went to my buddy. A guy hit me up and he goes, dude, I have no idea. I've got about 100 plus Transformers. I think they're G1, G2s. I'm not real sure. And he's like, I don't even know what they're worth. Don't care what they're worth. What do you got to offer? And I ended up trading him a computer board for a computer I had for all these Transformers, which I paid $20 for the computer board. And a lot of my pieces are up there because I won't come off of them.
Yeah.
Actually, my G2 Optimus Prime that's up there was in that bunch. Yeah, they're just variety of different ones. They were all older Transformers, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like Cup down there, my G1 Cup, he was in that bunch, and I'm like, holy crap, dude, I don't have a Cup. I have a Cup now, and he's nice.
There you go.
I got like 10 NESs. I throw a new 72 pin connector, make sure it guarantees working. I'll trade one of those off for a bunch of Transformers any day of the week. Doesn't bother me a bit. But you gotta find people that want stuff like that.
I want stuff like that. Anyway.
As you can see, I've got it. I've got everything from Atari on up.
Yeah, I refurbish them myself, so I know
Nice.
exactly what you're talking about. So, the last question I have for you basically is, and you've kind of defined it pretty much in what we've talked about so far, but what matters most in your life?
Honestly, my family. I mean, I take pride in what I do, anything that we do, whether it be the podcast or, what my wife, my kids, my family, even my little brother. He's been there for me. Dark and Captain actually moved from Iowa, I think, or Iowa or Idaho, just to come down here to help us. To me, I look at them as family. They're my best friends. My wife has always been there for me. So my family's my number one. I look at them as my fans. They're my number one fans.
That's awesome.
So that's the reason why, when I look at everything, I look at my fans, and, my fans on the podcast, my fans as my family, that's who I dedicate to, and that's who I'll always dedicate to, and I will strive to make sure that everybody there is taken care of. That's all that matters.
That's awesome. Okay, well, Richard, it was great talking to you about this stuff. You've made another fan, definitely, and I'd love to chat in with some of the folks who chime in on your show. I'll definitely be one of those pretty soon. So
absolutely.
Excellent. Well,
thanks so much, brother.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.